Welcome back to Insider Knowledge. I'm Akato with our, illustrious hosts, Drizoth and BaJAtak. Welcome, gamers. How are you doing? How was your couple weeks? It's been a couple weeks since the last time we had one of these. Are we enjoying the game? How's it going? What are you guys up to?
I mean, I don't hate the game, but I'm not gonna say I love it. So I feel like the
Yeah.
meta is it's very Janna. So
I like Janna. I think Janna is like one of the best academies. I just love it. I think like it's one of the coolest decks that we ever had in LR. It's not too good. I do agree with that, but especially with the like new version with Elephant, I do find it pretty fun.
yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been living through a fucking misery purgatory of mid-range bullshit for the last however long. The fact that we finally found 2/3 of a lineup that doesn't fucking suck is stellar in my mind. I'm very happy.
You have two
As of
thirds?
this exact moment, I'm very happy.
You have two
But that's
thirds?
still
What are
one
the
deck.
2/3? It's Janna and what?
Sarah Sett.
Yes, Sarah said.
Okay.
I think that's like that's like a lot
I
of
think
people
Sarah
like-
Ionia's is like very good. I think Sarah Janus probably better. But I mean, using both of using your Janus slot there, I think is pretty sus. But yeah, no, I don't know. This last weekend, I don't know if you guys had a chance to play in any of the tourneys. We had like 5, which I don't know why they all landed on the same weekend, but we had 5
Yeah.
tourneys.
Mhm.
I ended up playing in the Duck one, Duck Cup.
Duck Cup.
I ended up top 4ing that one. Lineup of Janna, Neela, Sarah, Sett, and then Scouts. And I'll be honest with you, I brought that same lineup to Aegis, and then I brought the same lineup to another tournament on Sunday, the ABG tournament. And I think I kind of, at least as far as this weekend, I think I kind of broke the meta. I think I kind of had it fucking nailed. And is it still going to be this way, in 5 days? Probably not. But I think I had the call.
Like my issue on that lineup is the scouts. Like I love just do same decks as you do, Aikata, and then like to find the last deck in that lineup is kind of hard for me. And scouts is something that I don't know. Like the deck kills you like sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't do anything, and it's something that I just might, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah, I think the nice thing about Scouts is like it's at worst like 50-50 into like most things. And like it's favored into like a lot of the good decks. And at the end of the day, like going wide and like CSing or going wide and using like Inspiring Light, is that what it's called?
Inspiring Light for Demacia.
Mogwai.
Yeah. It just beats ass, Scouts just like doesn't fuck around. It gets in there, it beats ass, and it yeah.
Yeah, I am convinced that Scouts is like properly good right now, but I have been incapable of playing Scouts for like 2.5 years at this point, and I have tried more than once to change this, and
Same.
it does not work for me. So
I'm the resident Scout enjoyer. I've been a Scout enjoyer for a year and a half now, so it's great.
It definitely seems good when I'm not playing it, but I like every time I play it, I'm like, man, this deck is a pile of shit. So
even if I play against it, man, every time I play against it, I'm like, man, I'm just winning. When I play it, I'm just not winning. And when I see somebody play though, I see like I cannot play, and he's like killing opponent on turn 5, and like, what is going on? How is that possible?
I don't understand. Like I am aware that this is a skill issue, but like I have made my peace. Like I made my peace a year ago that I was like, you know what, Scout seems good. I can't fucking play that deck.
Yeah. Like the deck is 3 years in the game, right? More than 2 years. Like it's since Rising Tides, 3.5 years actually. And like I didn't ever play it. I played it when it was broken at release, I guess, and that was the last time I actually enjoyed it. So
yeah, back with like Plaza.
No, it was Plaza. It was the 4-mana Scout. It was 4-1 and was summoning for BaJAtak.
Oh so, yeah.
It was crazy.
No, I've said it a million times before. Every time that Scouts like hits meta, I come out and defense it because I think in a lot of people's mind it's like it's just this aggro deck and it plays a bunch of 1 and 2 drops and then it fucking kills you. And it's like that's not it at all. I think if you're playing Scouts like an aggro deck, you're gonna run out of cards really fast and cry.
It has complexity definitely.
Ordinarily, and in general, I do think people are like way too harsh on Scouts. I have not been nearly as much of a fan of the deck since CS got printed.
Oh yeah, fuck CS. Yeah, no, I hate CS.
Yeah, it's. I don't like that card in Scouts. I mean, I understand why they play it, and it's like, yeah, you definitely play 3 CS. But I think
kind
the
of
deck.
good for that deck, right? Like
Yeah.
I think
No, what I
deck's
like
lost
about it is
something
like
to CS.
planning your turns ahead. You know, you can basically plan out your lethal turns from like Mulligan. You know, I love planning your mana. I love, you know, just I don't know, saving board. The fact that so many people want to like trade off their units, and it's like, okay, we fundamentally misunderstand how the deck is supposed to go. Like you're through and through a combo deck, and you really need to set up your board because you're going to use like your units a lot better than your opponents are. But
I do agree. There's like definitely the skill. Definitely, is like on count the board. Count how many units you're gonna have. Count because then sometimes you're gonna play Gwen because you don't have space for it, and then count the mana as well for like things like CS. I want to CS on turn 6, and you need to be thinking about it since turn 2, for example. So,
CS I think the really big thing is knowing like if a Fort Demacia is gonna win you the game or not. I think that like being able to plan like 3 turns ahead and know if it will is like pretty huge. But
yeah, my dislike of CS that doesn't happen with Fort Demacia is Champion Strength has this problem of like frequently decks, their plan is just play CS. That is the whole plan. They just assume that if you play CS on a wide enough board, it will win the game. And they're probably right. And Fort Demacia doesn't quite have that quality because it doesn't like rally you at the same time. You have to like find a time to Fort Demacia with token. It's like much more easy to like deal with as an opponent. And so you can't just like fully tunnel in on I'm going to play Fort Demacia and it's going to win me the game. And CS does kind of have that quality. I mean, it's better post nerf because pre nerf CS was like the dumbest thing I've seen in a long time, but I don't like the card
it's still toxic, right? Yeah, it's still toxic. Like we have even still the worst Janna, I would say. I think that's something I guess we can agree on. Even though it's historically just showing better numbers than Janna Nila, but I think like a lot of like good players, like a lot of players just don't like the Janna Teemo that much because lack of agency. But let's be honest, that deck sometimes just kills you on turn 4. Like you don't know what's going on. Like,
yeah, I mean it does like I don't know. That's like one of the more frustrating parts about this meta to me, where it's like, see, if you play Janna Nila, you're like distinctly favored in the Janna mirror. It's like really hard to win as Janna Teemo to Janna Nila. And then like these decks that are trying to beat Janna Nila, where you're saying like, oh, I'm gonna play like Ornn Jax, and your opponent's like, hey, I'm playing Janna Teemo, and I'm just gonna like CS you with 4 elusives on turn 5, and you're like, oh, fuck,
yeah.
I'm
bro,
not
just
beating that.
what do you mean? Just Ornn Valanche, play your Omen Hawk to block Acorn. You just like win the game.
Yeah, but I do definitely agree with you that like that's I think biggest issue of it. But because like if you want to counter Janna, right, you can do that. I think it's doable. But the issue that you don't have to meet Janna Nila. You can meet Janna Teemo, right? That's something we had with Tristana. It's exactly the same thing. It's either Bridgewater or it's Demacia. And
to be fair, I think that like right now, a lot of people are kind of doomering about the Janna Nila deck right now. If you guys haven't been paying attention, we have a relatively new build. It's kind of come into its own. We're playing Elephant. We're playing Sunken Temple. And yeah, this deck is much more controlly now. We're playing fewer 1-drops. Yeah, and basically you just like infinite value your opponent. You tempo them out with like 6 mana Elephant into like 8 mana worth of removal for free. I was a staunch hater of the old Janna Nila list. I felt like it was terrible. This new one I love. Oh my god, this deck is beautiful.
If someone showed me this deck and someone showed me the old ones, I would have been like, yeah, I can guess which one I kind of will like more.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But no, I think a big thing is like this deck has sort of popped up and it seems very strong right now. I still think this is a very beatable deck. I think a lot of people, it feels like, are doomering on like, oh my god, this deck is not beatable. Janna is the most OP shit. And it's like, it's very good. It's very good. Just play Nardarius. Can we just queue Nardarius maybe for like?
The problem is like, I agree with you that like if you want to beat this deck, like that's very doable. The problem is like if you're trying to beat this deck and you're playing like Nardarius and your opponent just shows up with like the aggro version of Janna Nyla, like you're suddenly like not that favored. You might be a little bit favored, but like all of a sudden a lot of your edge just evaporated because your opponent's just like, oh, I'm gonna just like fucking kill you on turn 5. That's what my game plan is. You're like, oh, well, this Darius isn't very good. Or like you play Orange Axe and your opponent just shows up with Janna Teemo and you're like, oh, I'm fucked. It's this like very unpleasant experience where like you can beat any of the decks. The decks aren't tier 0. The decks are beatable, but the champion Janna does not feel beatable to me.
Just because there's so many different variations that
Yeah, and the
trying to
stuff that,
target one, it's pretty hard.
yeah, and the stuff that beats one like frequently just like dies to another. Like
Yeah,
it's not
and
even
also
like,
it's just
oh, I'm
like
favored into one and it's like okay down the road. It's like I'm favored into this one, but like that one just like cooks me.
also it's just like close deck list, right? Like also the thing, yeah, I don't know. You play experts, right? You want to counter their landmark, but you know, you don't know if your opponent plays the landmark even in open,
Yeah.
for example, right? Because like you don't know, and like you have to guess with the expert, should I take the landmark or should I take healing, because they have a lot of burn and stuff. So
It is really funny. Every single time I play the Janna deck on ladder, or any temple deck, to be honest with you, when my opponent plays an explorer before turn 5, I just have to sit there and argue with myself on how much I respect my opponent, and like, do they really know that I'm on temple? Do they know they have temple sticks? I auto win the game. Are they going to take the temple? I haven't played a landmark yet. It's I don't know. The dilemmas. It's certainly something. It's certainly something.
while we keep talking about temple, I guess we can maybe talk about that card, because I think that's like one of the more hated cards currently. I think it's definitely very interesting. We have now, as said, with the Seraphine, we have it now in the Janna. What is your take on it? I know that there's a big doomer about the card, so would love also maybe hear I can open it as well.
I mean, yeah. Do you want to start with yours, Trizoth? I feel like you have a strong stance on temple.
Yeah. So it took me a while to like reach this because like the card is like a little frustrating. It's good. And I had some like vague frustration. And then there was like some game that I played. I don't really remember the specifics, but I just realized that like I should never respect the cards in my opponent's hand because like they haven't chosen to have them. They're not sitting on a deny declining to use it. Their hand just changes every turn. So like you just start slamming shit onto the table and hope they didn't draw removal or they hope they didn't draw the deny. And like one of the reasons that I play card games is like you're supposed to try and figure out like how do I line up my Mystic Shot to get the most value? What target do I try and Mystic Shot? And once Sunken Temple hits the field, like that's not how you play the game anymore because this Mystic Shot's not going to be in your hand next turn. There's no reason to save it. There's like a couple of matchups where like you're talking about like what is in my deck, like in total, where are my Mystic Shots going? Because I will see all of my 40 cards. But most of the time you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, well, that thing has 2 health and I'd like it to be dead. And I'm not going to have a Mystic Shot next turn. So I'll just Mystic Shot it. And it becomes this very unpleasant game for me to play. I don't think Temple's broken. I think it's good. I think we could beat it pretty easily if we wanted to. But I find it just like an immensely frustrating card to deal with.
I definitely understand that, especially once you start counting in like all the discounts and stuff. Because like the discounts are obviously face down.
Yeah.
The Janna discounts are face down. There's just no playing around cards at a certain point, right? Like it's just like you jam your stuff, which I think is totally fair. I mean, I played a game this weekend where I was really upset because on turn 6, I didn't instantly cast Horde of Mossy. I dared to play Shell Shocker because there was one specific counter in their entire deck, and they just played Temple, so it's not like they could have kept this fucking counter.
Yeah.
And yeah, I developed a Rocket Barrage, and I got really upset. And then they denied me 2 turns later, even though they only run 1 to... Yeah. No, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's a very frustrating experience. That's it.
Yeah.
Sunken Temple's a lot of fun, you know?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, like, there are enough people who enjoy the experience of just, like, drawing lots of cards that I think it's fine to just say, like, okay, how do we tinker with, like, Temple to, like, make this misery experience, like, not occur, but people can still, like, use it to draw a bunch of cards. Because, like, I don't think the card is why Janna is broken. I think the card is, like, good, and it is particularly good with a set of cards that are, like, definitely overtuned. And so the card looks stupidly good. but I think it's just like fine. It's a solid, reasonable card. It's just like really annoying to deal with. If I was pointing at like cards in the package that I thought were like actually overtuned, it'd be Janna herself, probably Miriam, and then like one of the removal spells. I don't know if it's Whirlwind or the other Whirlwind that like faces right or whatever, but
the nerf I've been saying forever is that like I think Divine Whirlwind should only deal 1 to face. I think that would like
Probably.
massively impact like the amount of reach that this deck has, especially since it cycles so much. Especially now that we're playing Elephant.
yeah.
Oh my god, with Elephant, I know I have infinite bird in my deck.
Exactly. Like,
yeah. No, I definitely feel where you're coming from. I do think, you know, that Temple is going to be a very frustrating card for a lot of people as it becomes more of a meta staple. You know, I think that a lot of casual players, especially, will absolutely hate Sunken Temple, because the things that beat Sunken Temple are things that casual players don't want to do. They don't want to destroy the landmark. They don't want to apply pressure. They don't want to just kill your opponent. And that's what you're supposed to do, right? You're supposed to fucking kill them.
I mean, I legitimately like, even though like, so I was playing like a lot of aggro Janna and Nyla because I was like trying to beat mid-range decks like Nardarius. And I thought aggro Janna did like a pretty solid thing. The mirror is not a good time, but like you can just punk them out where you're just sitting there and like slam units into play, attack, and like it works not infrequently. And it's like if you just try and kill Janna and Nyla, and if they want to play like a Sunken Temple, like usually you'll get them. Like
yeah, it's like 5 mana do nothing, right? They often do that, right? And that's something that you have to be thinking about, and you have to punish as well. You know, the landmark destruction is still like, landmark destruction just sometimes just beat the deck as well. But of course, like they're smart and they can play on it. They don't have to play the card. They can just updraft it, right? And then just play as a classic Janna Nyla with different top end instead of both playing like Elefante.
I do think that's a big thing, is that like a lot of people will need to learn their limits, right? They'll need to be able to limit test with this deck and know when you're allowed to play Temple on 5 and when you're not. Because sometimes you play Temple on 5 and you go roll into like double gotcha, and like whatever your opponent was doing, it doesn't fucking matter anymore. Like we killed everything. But yeah, I do think that I do think that it's definitely a learning curve to know how much you're able to abuse the Temple.
yeah.
Overall though, I really like this deck.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, I think my frustration with like Janna and Nyla, since it's the most played one specifically, would be a lot lessened if there was like some other deck that I felt was remotely comparable in power level to this one. Because I feel like Janna is like head and shoulders the best deck in every lineup.
Jaxorn, Nardarius.
There are decks that
decks.
like are okay playing into Janna and Nyla, but in
Yeah.
terms of like raw power, I feel like Janna is just like clearly number one.
Like, okay, let's be honest. Like, nowadays, like the deck just kills you, but you know that's a deck. Like, it's over whenever we had so much. Like, the deck
Bro,
doesn't.
what's a deck supposed to do? It kills you. What's its win rate right now?
It's like it was crazy. Like, you didn't.
Its win rate's 55%. Yeah, it does nothing other than kill you 55% of the time. What is the deck supposed to do?
It especially kills Janna. Like Janna.
Yeah, it's pretty good at that. I don't know. I think I definitely, I mean, obviously the deck's good, right? Obviously. All I'm saying is at this exact moment, coming off of this weekend, I'm very fucking happy because like standard has been mid-range bullshit forever. Freljord got buffs, Jaxorn got buffs. The fact that we actually found at least 2/3 of a Spellslinger lineup, damn, bro, that got me excited. I'm fucking hyped right now. I'm fucking living it up.
I do agree with you. I was still scared that meta gonna evolve and like gonna go after this because I met a lot of like Seraphine today, for example, in ladder. So I wouldn't be surprised if the meta might evolve again. But
again, like these decks are super there's this weird deck. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, Nardarius, that beats all of this shit. But yeah, no, it's overall, I'm digging the meta. I think that Alexander won the Duck Cup, and they were playing my lineup as well, but they were running Shen Jarvan as a third deck. which I mean,
But
Shen
then the mirror,
Jarvan.
no? Or is it?
So many beat scouts.
Yeah, good luck
It doesn't
playing
beat
mid-range.
the other two decks.
What's your take about scouts into Janna? I kind of that's something I'm curious.
Scouts into Janna. I think it's like ultra 50-50. I think it's ultra 50-50. Like I've won it from both sides. I've lost it from both sides. It's just like how much removal do they hit? How much are they able to trade down the board? Because like you can just always outvalue scouts as long as you like get to that point. But like if you have a bad hand, if you have a slow hand, you're gonna get ran over.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I like scouts a lot more than Shen Jarvan because like Shen Jarvan, you have to ban Janna. And like Shen Jarvan's supposed to be good into like Jax Ornn and Ashe LeBlanc, and like you're already crushing Ashe LeBlanc. I don't know if we need to be good into Jax Ornn. Scouts is like favored into Jax Ornn anyway. I can't think of a reason to play Shen Jarvan, to be honest with you. Shen Jarvan's just like a depression simulator because if you don't have Shen on turn 4, like you might as well jump. It's
like Shen is such a crazy guy. I think generally like Shen might be the best champion that it's in the game. Issues
Shen
like of course his deck.
Shen is pretty silly, and then like the other one is like, have you like experienced the like games where they go like double Kinku student, whatever the 3-1 that gets barriers
the fucking
into Shen, and you're
3-1.
just like, oh fuck me, like my opponent's attacking with 4 barriers on turn 4.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do about this?
Like just fuck sometimes, but I guess it's like something interesting on this meta as well. Like a lot of old decks, things like Ashe LeBlanc, Shen Jarvan, of course, scouts. It's interesting to see.
Here's what I'll say. I think Ashe LeBlanc is cope as fuck. It is ultra anti-meta, and if everyone's playing, literally Jax Ornn, sure, go for it. But things that like Ashe doesn't even beat Jarvan anymore, bro. Jarvan beats Ashe. Why the fuck are we playing Ashe? And Ashe is so weak into like the entire other half of the meta. Ashe isn't beating scouts. Ashe isn't beating any Janna deck on the planet. Ashe isn't beating like the Seraphine decks. What the fuck are we playing? It's not beating like the aggro stuff that's popping up to beat some things. It beats nothing. This deck beats nothing. Stop playing it.
I thought it was gonna be fine in Aegis because like I was still expecting like a bunch of Jax Ornn, a bunch of Aatrox, a bunch of Auction Pantheon, because I thought we were just like going tall in like mid-range weapon pile shit. And that is not what happened. And I'm pretty sure Ashe is just like dog shit.
I mean, you say that, but Roji's team brought like 2 Aatroxes, man. I don't know. They kind of bailed.
Clearly, I should have just played that.
Aatrox, huh? How about Aatrox? I think that
it's doing well. I don't really understand how, but it is doing well.
I think the issue with Aatrox, and similarly the issue with like Alawi, which is a card that I've kind of been seeing the praises of for months at this point, and hasn't hit meta recently.
Thank fucking God.
Thank God. Alawi's Kaisa. Alawi's literally Kaisa. Yeah. But I think that both of them are kind of being muscled out of the meta by like this like Shen, Ashe, Jax Ornn, like this contingent of like anti mid-range that's like been sitting in the meta forever. Is kind of like muscling out Aatrox and Alawi. And Aatrox and Alawi, I'm pretty sure would probably be doing pretty well into the meta right now if you could actually play those decks.
But that's like think like overall is pretty fucked for you as well for Aatrox, so I think that's also an issue.
Yeah, all that Freljord shit, man.
And there you can see the Ashe LeBlanc 16% matchup.
Yeah, it's so fucked. I mean, that's like one of the old like really fucked matchups. Trying to play into Ashe.
I mean, we have seen worse ones than that. But that is about as bad as matchups get. The only ones that I know of that were worse were Sundisk versus Anivia. Good luck with that one.
Are we talking about, but that's like non-real decks, right? Like Anivia.
So the one that I remember,
those were real. There was Cyan versus Lee, which was just 2 completely
Cyan
real
Lee's
decks.
the one that I. Yeah, it was literally 90-10.
Yeah.
That was a silly matchup.
Yeah, that was the worst that you had like just 2 unarguable real decks that you saw, and it was 90.
I saw earlier TLC, I think but that was like 80-20. What I remember.
Yeah.
As earlier
really versus TLC.
Yeah. So like 80-20s, so 70-30s are just like normal bad matchups. I mean, they're really bad, but like they definitely just happen if your deck lines up poorly with theirs. 80-20s is like your opponent has to like just giga brick for you to win. 90-10s are like so bad that it's like your opponent draws bottom of the barrel, you just runner them, and you still lose. Like it's so bad.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many games I saw where Cyan had to play the Lee, and like the Lee Sin was bottom 15 cards, and like
Yeah.
was
See, the
high
thing
enough.
is, the funny part about that Lee Sin deck is if Lee Sin was in the bottom 15, you know what you were drawing? Double Eye of the Dragon, Guiding Touch, Pale,
Yeah.
Palm. I think you were chilling.
The funny thing about this meta also is that we once again have two fair Noxus decks in like same agents combination that we cannot play in the same lineup. That's something that pops up kind of often, but
God, what is going
it's once again funny to see that being a thing. And once again, they play only Sky Splitter is the same card, I think, in both of the decks.
Definitely Omen Hawk, right?
Yeah,
Omen Hawk and Sky Splitter, yeah.
Maybe some
Maybe
Three
Three Sisters.
Depends on like the Ashe deck, but
yeah. I do think that the funny part about that though is that this is something that's popped up from here and there. I saw a Reddit post where a player was like, you know what? There's two Freljord Noxus decks. I want to play both these in the same lineup. Do we need to rethink our lineup restrictions so that I can play these two decks? I think it was pretty funny, The mid-range players have the Freljord players have found out that there can in fact be more than one deck with a region combo, and they're not happy about it.
I do think it's a little silly, though. This one I think is like a little different since like the Freljord decks are at least like, I don't know, vaguely in the same ballpark. The one that I found was like a strong argument for that was way back when it was like post Azerelia nerfs. We had Thralls and Shurima Freljord Overwhelm in the same meta.
Yeah.
They played none of the same cards and were wildly different decks. Like one of them is trying to beat your ass, and the other one is playing Thralls. And it's like, nope, you can't play those two decks. They're too similar. It's like that one felt like you should be allowed to play both.
If you think about it, Renekton is an Overwhelm guy.
He's like
Thralls are Overwhelm guys. I mean, I've seen 8/8 Renekton before. Who's to say they aren't the same card?
Yeah.
And it was just kind of like, that one felt like there was a justifiable reason to let people play both. Because like the decks were just wildly different. These ones are at least like, you're both playing Freljord mid-range. Seems reasonable to restrict you to play only one of those. But
yeah. I agree.
Something that we had, I guess last episode was before the patch, so of course we had some decks that was popping off and like they kind of disappeared. I think things like Jack Sett, I guess they're not coming back. Are they?
Yeah, I mean, I was like the guy who popped off a Jack Sett. I will say, like, I'm pretty sure you could go find me saying, if you don't end up in like a bunch of weapon mid range, like this deck is not really doing anything phenomenal. Like, it's not terrible, but like you do have to be playing it like Jack's Horn, Aatrox Kayn, and then like this deck is interesting. And if those decks aren't around, like you're kind of just like not doing much. But
yeah, I do think that the really nice thing about the buffs to Jack Sett specifically is that the deck has a plan now and like is playable. And like if you brought it, if I run into Jack Sett, I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's a free win. Yeah. It's like, oh, their deck functions and does a thing.
Yeah.
Which I think is like a great sign for the buffs that it got.
Yeah, and I mean, like honestly, I think the like biggest problem with the deck, if you were like building a lineup, is that it uses Sett. And like if you were trying to go hunt for these decks, there's probably a better Sett deck than Jack Sett. But like I could definitely see a meta down the road where like Jack Sett is just a completely viable good option. But
yeah, maybe one more buff maybe can be also like an because like we had like 30. It used to have like 30% win rate. Now it got to like 47. So I wouldn't be surprised if
if
see, like one more buff.
The scary thing is that 4Second was already topping APAC opens with Jack Sett. Now it's been buffed. I mean, he's gonna win, right? He has to win. And if he wins the Open, the World Championship qualifier, 4Second wins and qualifies to Worlds, how can we buff Jack Sett then? You know?
Exactly. We have to nerf it like peak, right? Because peak 1 opens seasonal back in the time. So
Is that
we
why
have
we
to nerf
nerfed
it.
Peak?
I don't think so. I think it was just miserable time, right?
Yeah.
I think. But I saw some people like asking for peak revert, and it's rotated, right? I think peak is rotated.
It's rotated.
I'm
Peak
being
is
against it.
Peak is peak cringe, man. I just don't like when neither players impacted the outcome of the game. You know, they just fucking let Jesus take the wheel, and Jesus selected your Brittle Steel for the 4th turn in a row to be 0 mana, while your opponent's playing FTRs. Yeah.
Just by expert, bro.
Peak is
So true.
Not my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something that still kind of stay relevant, or like I think like people, we have kind of players. They didn't notice. I think that something changed. It's Lurk players.
Okay,
they're like still like doing the thing. Yeah.
Let's be honest here. Like the Pike nerf, like that doesn't matter for Lurk. Like it was a nerf. Like certainly it like affects, I don't know, 1 in every 100 games or something. But like the games where Lurk goes like Sharkling and double Xerxai Hatchling hits Rek'Sai, like I don't give a shit that their Pike is 5 mana.
Yeah. No, it certainly is a the nerf like just doesn't fundamentally change anything about Lurk. Lurk is the exact same deck. Sometimes the mana points are gonna be slightly different, but in general it's the exact same thing. Yeah. One thing that I do want to say is there have been quite a few Reddit posts recently. Normally a deck that flies under the radar, or when it's popped up, you know, Reddit loves it because all the casual players love it. I've seen a lot of posts recently malding about Deep. I've seen a lot of Redditors upset that they cannot beat this deck. And honestly, thank God the Redditors have finally come around on it, dude. Fuck Deep. This stupid ass deck, when it goes double scarab, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I have like an opinion on Deep that is better than like pretty bad. But like this deck double drawing Sea Scarab is like brutal.
I agree with that definitely. Like
yeah,
like even like Janna. Like I'm not like because like Sett, my opponent just flipped Marco on turn 6 and Runeterra gave me. I was like, okay, I guess I lose. Like, it's Deep Shotstyle just wins, and yeah, it's for a long time like dependent on the Sea Scrap. Let's be honest, like the Sea Scrap is the MVP, the most important card, and like
I mean, there's a lot of decks. I don't know. There was a design decision at some point. I don't know, like if it was like entirely formal, but it's stuff like Kinku Student and like Sea Scarab and like Trifarian Assessor, and Bird and Janna, where like there's just one card that's just like fucking cracked in a deck, and if they draw multiple copies of it, it's brutal. And
I do think the frustrating part about Deep is that like you can't really do anything against it. I've had games where like my opponent did nothing, but they played, like a double 1-drop and then the lifesteal 3-drop, and then they undergrowth me, and then they jettisoned and they're deep on 5. And I'm like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah.
Why am I staring down 2 mana 6/6s? You've done nothing this game. Yeah, I'm not a fan of Deep.
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think it's like the worst deck to have around, but I don't love it. Also, like, I'm gonna be honest, I'm pretty sure this card is like not even playable in Deep.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's that like you don't play it in Deep. I'm gonna whisper. It's funny. Like I can see I think Sunny was making the video on the Maokai Mono that you go like all in on Maokai Wincon and
I mean,
then
that one's
just play
even
about
worse, if we're being honest.
It's worse, but it's making sense in that deck. But in Classic Deep, I don't think it just makes sense at all.
Yeah,
I've definitely lost to it. But like realistically, that card should just be like a Soul Harvester of Vengeance, right? We're talking about Water Grave, by the way, if anyone.
Yeah, I mean, the number of times that I've seen like, I don't know, I'm playing against Deep and I'm playing like Janna and Isla, and I'm like almost decking myself, and they're like, "Oh, flip Maokai, Watery Grave," and I'm like, "Okay, play Miriam." Like, I didn't plan for that, and it's like, you get hard countered by a 2-drop that I want to play anyway. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Something that seems to disappear, and we didn't mention it, this is pretty showing us good numbers, is still Elusives. They seem still pretty decent.
Yeah.
I'm not like high on them that much as I used to be, but I think they're still killing things. It's quite the biggest winner deck, as we can see. So,
I do think that like Elusives is worse than the stats would suggest. Like, I don't think this deck is a 57% win rate deck. That's ridiculous. But like, I'll also say that like I'm pretty sure we should just try to like never have a deck in the meta that plays like 20 elusive units.
Yeah, people seem to like it. Like I'm kind of more active now on Reddit, and I see very often there's it there as well. And yeah, like I see basically every day like, can we nerf elusives? Why elusive is a keyword? And these type of the posts, like people seem to not enjoy it at all.
Yeah, I do think it's fine for like the elusive keyword to exist, and I think it adds something valuable to combat. But when you've got decks that are sitting there and like, I do not allow you to block if your unit does not block elusives. It's like, okay, that's kind of dumb.
The thing is that like the reason why these types of decks are so frustrating, especially for more casual players, is because casual players don't like doing the thing that's really good into this deck. They don't like interacting, and they don't like killing their opponent. So it's just they're kind of hard countered from the get go.
It's the tempo again, right?
I mean,
this is
yeah, this is like the huge deal with Lee Sin, and like one of the most frustrating parts about like arguing with the community about Lee Sin, where people will be like, I played a vengeance on Lee Sin. That is like enough interaction, and it's ridiculous that my opponent killed me anyway. And it's like, if you like show up with 2 vengeances in your deck, yeah, you're fucking dead to Lee Sin. Like, you're not winning that game. If you show up with 3 vengeances and you're like trying to get comets off Solari priestesses, you're fine into Lee Sin. You have to start worrying about Zoe, but like, if you interacted with Lee, he died. Like, they didn't.
Well, to be fair, there had to be very specific interaction for Lee,
Yeah.
right? The fact that he got a barrier every single turn, like, probably went a long way towards making it hard to interact with him.
Demacia had more like justification for complaints because there was some nonsense of like you cast Concerted Strike and that's like your best hope, and it's just like get barrier play.
The full cope Concerted. The amount of times I ripped that shit, it's like I just gotta pray. I do think that like realistically, Lee Sin has like a lot of interaction. Like you can kill your own unit, you can kill him, you can freeze, you can hush, you can stun, kind of, not really. Like there's a lot of interaction in there. I do think the frustrating part of Lee Sin was always that you weren't allowed to kill him, right? The fucking 6 Eye of the Dragon. That was like always the frustrating part.
Yeah, I mean 6 Eye of the Dragon was very, very frustrating. And I also do think like a lot of people's frustration was essentially like, I was winning this game and then Lee Sin came down and killed me. And like my unironic response would be, you were never winning this game. You were losing the entire time.
That's like, yeah, understanding where you're actually winning, because like these combo decks, that's the same with the Azure Seraphine, right? The same discussion that we had. Like, we are not winning if it's turn 9. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Like, sure, you might be winning on turn. Might be winning on damage, but you are not winning.
You don't understand, Baya. It's turn 11, and like, okay, well, they did play like 2 bars down, and they have a flip Seraphine, but like, they're at 8 HP. I win. I'm winning right now. Ezreal came down. Oh, I died? Fucking, what the hell, Riot? Fucking Ezreal?
I believe Ezreal did this, man. I don't know.
And the Lee Sin one, I think, was like much more egregious, where you'd see people like, I don't know. There was a thread in like Karma Sett where people would be, like just post screenshots, and I actually got baited by someone who posted a screenshot being like, "Who would win, this like 40 power Kale or a leveled Karma on turn 10?" And the answer was actually the 40 power Kale. It was an incredible bait, one of the best like Reddit posts I've ever seen. But for like 3 months, like every day, someone would post like, "I can't believe that like my 13 power Ornn against my opponent's Karma on turn 10, like." They won the game. This is ridiculous. And it's like, what the fuck did you expect?
To be fair, there are definitely some of them that are like a little bit silly. You know, it really is like fucking 60 power spread across the board, and it's all overwhelm, and they all have 10 health, and it's like, oh my god. And yeah, it's one solo Karma, and then watches she does the craziest thing ever and stays alive.
Yeah,
I understand some of them.
That's when you attack and your opponent like thinks for a bit, and then you see them like put out 5 spells on the stack and then bring them back, and you're like, oh.
It's like, oh, okay, it's one of those games. Okay, I get it.
were laughing. They were like, ha ha, and then he put the one spell. They're like, what? 2? And they're like,
It's specifically you see like 5 face down spells, and then they come back in their hand, and you're like, this attack isn't going through, is it?
See, and the issue is that like Karma Sett did a good job. Karma Sett PNZ did a good job of sort of, telling people, hey, it's turn 10. Karma made it this far. They're gonna win the game. And I think that we had almost gotten to the point where people were, had like accepted that and had internalized that. But now we're playing Karma Sett Freljord, which weirdly enough does not win the game on turn 7 ever. Actually, it just kind of sits there and durdles and durdles and durdles and durdles, and maybe eventually Sett wins you the game. But dear God, is it a uphill battle? All I'm saying is this deck is a step backwards in terms of Karma relationships in the community because it's worse.
I mean, it's like nowadays, like Shellfolk, Vandal City Shellfolk is like past bursting backpack and it actually kills you. But like back in the day, people would be like, I've got 2 Shellfolks. Would you like to concede? And I'm like, no, because like I'm unconvinced you're even winning this game, but I have to sit here for 15 minutes.
See, Shellfolk, I've always been a big supporter of ethical shellfolking, which means it's very important to put in a win condition in your shellfolk deck. And if you don't have a win condition in your shellfolk deck, you're probably just a ladder terrorist, which is not great. That's why.
That was a win con, no?
I don't know. I don't know if opponent's frustration is like a valid win condition. No, that's why I played like Glorious Evolution. Or Ruinous Path Copier. That was pretty fun.
Honestly, any of the Shellfolk decks other than Shurima pre-bursting backpack, I thought were like pretty much just fine. Like they played a Shellfolk and like maybe they like jerked off a little bit, but like you were definitely dead once the Shellfolk was unanswered. The Shurima one was the only one where like people would like put a Shellfolk into play and like unironically be like, "You're dead." And you're like, no, because you're playing fucking Shurima, and like I could be here for 7 more turns.
They play 30, scrying sands spread out over 3 different attack tokens, and like you deal 0 damage to them, but also they've accomplished nothing to advance the board state. And
it was so frustrating because it was like I literally just have to wait because you're not winning this game. Like I'm not really winning this game either, but like it's unclear who's winning, how ahead you are, but we're gonna be here for a long ass time.
As the Shellfolk guy, I will say Shellfolk should probably never be meta ever. It's a very frustrating card to play against.
I think
incredibly frustrating card.
There might be some eternal changes. I think I'm very worried about the.
No, Valley got nerfed, guys. Valley got nerfed. It's gonna be okay.
No, it has to go. It has to go.
Okay, here's what I'll say. The bursting backpack. I don't know if it's that good. It might be okay, but we'll see.
Like it's the thinking that they can do it in burst, right? That like they can like get answer to. That's the amazing thing.
I do think that I think the group shot version was literally good last Eternal though. So I think that it's still gonna be fine. I see you raising your eyebrows. I had like a 90% win rate over like 30 games. You kind of just kill people on turn 6.
Have you played it in Open though?
I didn't play it in the Open because I refused to play it, and I played it after the Open, and I won like a lot. But
I guess we have this like infinite discussion with like Infinite as well in the past, and like Infinite got nerfed, like we know about that.
Like, Infinite,
yeah.
We had also the discussion of sitting, just watching opponent do what he wants, and like, but actually Infinite, like you actually they could have breaked, right? Like I played too much Infinite. I know that like it's very likely that they could even break, even like after 5 for like the draw 2. Like it's sometimes likely even.
I've been watching a lot of Teddy streams recently, and sometimes when Teddy gets frustrated, he'll just queue a game of Eternal normals and play Infinite, and just like fucking Infinite on some poor kid for like 20 minutes, and then he'll go back to queuing. And
I love Infinite so much. It's always so based. I think it was like one of the most complex decks, and it was fun. Playing cards and drawing cards is fun. I know I'm draw addict, so it just gives me that.
It is pretty fun. It probably shouldn't be good though. Probably.
Okay, what's not that good, I think, but it's showing some numbers and actually finding finally maybe a playable decks is Poro King.
Oh, true.
And especially when we're playing the Ionia deck, the Seraphine, we're having misery with them into that, I gather. Like, Poro
Yeah.
King just kills these things.
As somebody who played against Frostbooty Irelia, who is the person who rocketed up on ladder last week. They gained like 400 LP in a day with Targon Poro King. If you guys haven't seen it, it's running like Zolani, it's running like triple Hush. And then it basically just it tries to snacks you once and then drop flipped Poro King or drop Zolani. It's a pretty silly it's a pretty silly deck. But
you can put it
I
in
played
meta, there's a different one. But yeah, the deck is pretty silly, definitely.
I played against them in tourney over the weekend. They ended up top 8ing the event that I top forward. I played against them in the Swiss, and I got my ass handed to me. This deck kind of beats the shit out of Janna, kind of beats the shit out of the Ionia stuff I'm trying to do. It's certainly something.
But it needs to find a Poro King. Like, this is so all in on Poro King. Like, if you don't find Poro King, this deck does nothing. But like, with the buff of Poro King that gives you the special snack on level up, like, you just crazy and like you get so big so easily. And Burster is level Poro King so fast. Like, it's crazy to see that.
I mean, I definitely think this is by far the best Poro King deck I've ever seen. However, like, I've played against Frostbooty Irelia like many times on ladder, and this deck still seemed like a meme to me. I was just playing like Janna and Nyla, and I just like killed them.
Well, okay, but you're still stuck on the aggro version, right? You know, we're out here playing.
I started playing temples, but yeah, the what's it called, the control version is definitely going to be worse than Poro King because like Poro King, like even when like Karma Sett was like hilariously fucked up, you got your ass handed to you by Poro King.
I remember when Siren Song first came out. I was like, I queued into it like 4 times in a row. I was like, fuck this. I'm gonna play Targon Karma Sett and just hard target this. And then I instantly queued into Poro King, and I was like, I'm playing the one deck on the planet that loses the Poro King.
Yeah. The impact stack just kills your opponent. Like, it's so crazy, like how easily just push 6 damage and like, yeah. It's kind of fucked.
I think the big thing about the deck is that like one snacks just like goes crazy in it, because then all of your like little poros that like normally aren't doing anything are like buffing up the Zolani. And like right now, a lot of decks can't answer Zolani. It's not an easy card to answer at all times, and yeah, you know, especially a lot of stuff like Janna like just can't answer that card.
Yeah, there is no right. That's also Cat is crazy into like things like Janna, right? Like, you know, big overarm just kill Janna because Janna like it's realistically doing like maximum like 8 damage, right? Like with Virulent and like Gale.
Yeah.
And that's something that like it's the maximum. And if your unit has more health than that, it has overarm, you're just gonna kill the deck. So it definitely works that way. But
Yeah.
the deck is it's very inconsistent. But the second you find Poro King, I think the deck is very good. Like, not very good, good. I would say good. It's beating a lot of things. BaJAtak. If you find Poro King and snacks like natural ones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's absolutely like the first time I've seen a Poro King deck that didn't look like a joke. It's like, I'll say that my opinion on this deck is like not particularly high, but like this deck is clearly like somewhat real. Whereas like every other Poro King deck we've ever seen was like, God, I hope my opponent's playing a control deck that like can't kill me to save its life.
This deck like functions and like does a thing, right? Which is like more than you could say for a lot of you know, brews. So I do think that you know, this type of deck, like a lot of people are very much on the oh my god, Janna's fucking broken and we can't beat it train. I know that we've all acknowledged we feel like we can beat like the individual decks. But you know, especially with stuff like this, like, you know, this fucking Poro King deck comes up and I'm like, damn. Yeah, no, I'm getting my ass beat by it. You know,
opponent are gonna lose it. Like something like you have to accept, right? I still think that you should be playing Janna, but if you meet something like this, you might just lose to it random and don't be then like mad on your Janna deck or something, right? Like it's a reality. Like these decks just win sometimes and sometimes then don't function. Like I played this deck and like I remember that I had 2/2 Zolane on like turn 12 and I was like, I guess I'm losing.
If you don't hit snacks or like Poro King, your deck doesn't do anything. But
I mean, admittedly, like I feel like that's like whenever a deck has to hit like one of 2 cards, I think it's like perfectly fine because finding either of 2 cards is like a very reasonable ask.
Also, the 2-drop draws you the king. Like it draws Poro, right? And it can
Yeah,
draw
I
you
mean,
king. So.
you got a lot of Poros. I don't think that's a whole lot different than drawing.
Yeah, but
right?
it's like more. You have also you don't have that much draw, but you have some draw as well. So like you can also do that thingy. Something that we didn't mention yet. It was like at the especially start of the patch, big hype thingy. Especially when we saw patch notes was Aatrox Kayn. I guess deck that's kind of nowhere to see now. It's still having kind of good play rate, what I see, but
Yeah, I
I
mean,
haven't
people
seen it in
definitely
a long
play it.
time.
I mean, I don't know. Like, Kayn champ spell change, like, sounds really good, but it just, like, doesn't actually come up that much from what I've seen.
You missed it already. But
I
yeah. The thing like it sounds so good on paper, but yeah, the reality isn't that good as it is, and especially I don't know, I just have issue with that deck. Like I think especially the consistency of that deck is just so bad that like you also depend on like early core taste. But then you also want to get the spells
Yeah.
that you have.
I mean, if we were still in a world where, like, it was, like, impossible to not have Kayn on curve, and it was impossible to not have Aatrox on curve, then, like, okay, Aatrox Kayn, like, this buff sounds, like, really impactful. But when you're sitting here and you're like, we're still playing our mopey, like, Aatrox Kayn deck, but, like, sometimes we kind of pop off on turn 5. It's like, okay.
It is kind of crazy that we used to draw Aatrox from just cycling bloodletters 3 times,
Yeah.
huh? What's up with that?
That was a little fucked up.
I forgot about that whole.
Yeah, that was a little crazy, huh?
You play the
Yeah.
same.
I
was the
think
worst,
it's
right?
so funny to, like, look at, Vayne Aatrox decks, because, like, this whole debate of, like, okay, so we wanna, like, max out on spears, we wanna max out on harps, and we kinda wanna max out on, like, bloodletters, and, like, what combination do we play? And it used to be that the answer was, like, oh, you just play those 3. Like,
It's just 3/3/3, man.
yeah,
That was
you
it.
don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
Maybe throw out a Dark and Aegis if you're feeling spicy,
Sure,
and
why
that's
not? They used to play, like,
Well, Aegis
one
was broken, right?
Aatrox.
Back in the time. Like
Yeah.
Aegis was maybe the best even because a spear was pretty like bad, right? And back in the time. So.
yeah.
But,
And now, I mean, now we have to sit here where like all the RPG guys are like, I guess we're gonna play Lodestone, and I'm like, nah, dude, fuck Lodestone. At least play Fan.
Bro.
and I'm like, play Ballista.
So I would just like to call your attention to, like, look at this champ split that AR served me.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck AR gave you.
Never click on R. Never click on the thingy that you do. Always look at the biggest winner guided because that usually his version is the best or like better one. These versions tend to be very random.
Here's my thing. Okay, have you guys ever looked at Aatrox stats? I'm sure you have. You know, if you go to like the Legna site, have you guys noticed how it's split? And it's always like Aatrox Vayne and then Aatrox Quinn Vayne. Even when everybody's playing Aatrox Quinn Vayne, it's always split. It's really fucking weird to me because Aatrox Vayne always has better stats. Literally always. It doesn't matter.
I'm
It's
just gonna
always
tell you,
significantly better.
I'm just gonna tell you. So, like, I don't know where it, like, originally came from, but, like, as soon as I, like, mentally realized that you could just play Aatrox Vayne, I think that one's just better. And it's not that I think Quinn is bad, but if you just play 3 Aatroxes, you don't have to put a fucking Lodestone or a Fan in your deck. You could just play good weapons.
Copium, surely.
Ballista is good. Sometimes you play it and it wins, you know?
Like, I'd love to play Quinn. Quinn is super good in this deck, but if you tell me that if I'm playing Quinn, I have to put a Fan in my deck, absolutely not.
Fan's good, man. Fan's good.
Wait,
it heals so much.
Do you see this list, by the way? That's Tripper, Mageseeker.
Bro, this list is crazy. They're playing fucking Ballista and Fan. They said, nah, fuck that. We're not making a choice. We're taking both.
What? Yes. I like the Gentleman Zero, to be honest, in Itex. I think Gentleman Zero is a very...
This is the highest win rate, guys, list.
Because 55%, bro. Like, what you mean that? Okay, that's something you ignore. You look at lists that have 80% and more. Like, you don't look at lists.
Triple Junior with triple catch is, you know, certainly a direction to go with it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Speaking of like relatively cope decks, there's a deck that I've seen And the thing is, I haven't played it. I played against it a fair bit, and I've seen other people play against it a lot. And it kind of just wins all the time. What do you guys think about this this Teemo Caitlyn Freljord deck?
Oh,
I mean, I think I understand the point of it, which is to go bully these Janna players for drawing too many cards.
Barley Temple players. Like, I
I-
don't think that Janna is that bad because I said we can just decide to not play the Temple.
Yeah.
I think the issue if you're playing the Ionia Seraphine, man, that matchup is fucked.
So
Like,
it bullies
you-
temple players,
Yeah.
and then it
Yeah.
bullies some mid-range players too. Because you have to swing into this Caitlyn, and you know you're gonna get frozen, but you have to swing into it, right?
Yeah. Like, funny thing with this deck, if they have Teemo, you're playing Sarah Ionia, like Sarah Ionia, yeah. They have attack on 1. You cannot do anything unless you have Icon. You cannot do anything to that Teemo. And you know that Teemo doing 6 damage. Like, you just know that, and you just accept it.
It's just one of those decks. I often have these decks where like I look at the stats and the stats aren't that great. And I look at the deck and I'm like, this deck's not that great. But every time you watch it, it just kind of wins. And this is one of those decks right now where I'm looking at it and it just kind of wins a lot of games. I don't know. It might be, a little bit of dark horse.
I might try it. I haven't tried it as well, but I played a lot about it against it. Like, I think like it's one of the non-competitive like players like it a lot. I think like they kind of got off the Lurk, but they like this deck a lot. So
this deck has this deck I've seen it a lot, and the thing is, I've never seen any good player play it. I've seen 0 good players queue this deck up. So it's like it's. I wonder if it's secretly really good.
I mean, because like we saw in the past that like win rate of decks were made by good players, right? Like we saw that when some deck got left by good players, and the win rate just plummeted to 30%, right? Like we saw that. So it's
Janna Seraphine Ionia's win rate literally swings like 10% based on like whether or not like me for LW and a few other people are actually playing it or not. Like it's actually kind of fucking crazy. When we stop playing it, it drops to like fucking 44.
Yeah, I'm pretty dubious on this deck, but
I think it might be broke. Hear that? Everyone out there, fucking cue it into Drizzoth and beat his ass. Show him.
Exactly. Yeah. I guess like okay, if you play Janna, I think Janna's beating it. Like you draw some cards, but
if you just aggro them, like it's completely fine.
Yeah.
Like I had a game where I took 15 puff cap damage, like just drawing them, not Karina. Like I just took 15 damage from drawing puff caps. They died.
So you're telling me that you hired that opponent didn't get Karina?
Of course.
Wow.
So actually, I skillfully played around Karina by simply drawing the puff caps. So I couldn't Karina.
Base?
5-head. I can see that. I guess that's the meta that we talk about. Is
Well,
there
so
something like also?
There's a new set of decks that are coming up. We constantly are here talking about the death of aggro in standard.
Oh, yeah.
Aggro's unplayable. There's an aggro lineup right now. It includes our boy Poro. Skathis made the Poro deck. And it's not bad. It goes wide. It buffs up its units. It beats your ass. It's a collection of cards.
50.
Was that not the?
Okay.
Sorry, maybe I should have sold it harder.
That deck is so good that it beats Lurk. Oh
yeah,
my
I mean,
God.
I don't know. I have this thing of like, there's a lot of decks in this realm of like, they're viable. You can play them, you'll win some games, they're completely fine. If your goal is to like climb to Masters, go off, they're great. They're not really justifiable. And I feel like this deck is in that space. Where like, is it offensively bad? No. But like, I think you have to be someone like Skathis, who's looking for novelty's sake to really want
to be clear. I think it's very much a tournament deck. Like it's very much I'm trying to target some greedy fucking decks that aren't ready to deal with how wide I'm gonna go. Right? My opponent is taking turn 5 off, and I'm gonna kill them for it. Right? I don't.
We forgot about one deck actually. I think Friday we made it. It was the Elites Warden. I don't know if we have stats on that. I don't know if you've seen that, guys.
I have seen stats on that previously, and it was not good. But we can look. Might have to go to
Nobody
7
plays it in
days.
Nobody plays it, I guess.
Damn.
I've seen that deck.
Maybe we can get just 4LW. We're gonna have to go diving.
Yeah, but I seen that deck. It doesn't seem that bad. It's still doing the Dema Sapphire thingy that we saw, right? It's doing a bit more of Elites thingy, and I think it's decent. Is it good? No. But it's like the best Varden deck, so that's something that I guess was kind of positive on this page. That yeah, it killed Varden completely, basically.
Yes.
Okay, it's having 46.
Honestly, I'm surprised that Warden's actually dead. I definitely expected Warden to like just realize that it was playing good cards up the entire curve and like just decide we only have to run like 2 Warden and we're still just gonna like beat people. But seemingly people haven't been playing it that much. So
I mean, you do see it like it exists in stats occasionally, and it's not doing phenomenally. Although it's not like dead. It doesn't have like just some atrocious win rate that's like unjustifiable. Although that did remind me. Do you want to know some like cursed deck building knowledge that I ran into recently? So I was curious because like the Warden got nerfed, and I was like, okay, what other like dumb win conditions could I try and play in a Freljord mid-range deck? And something that I was thinking about was like, so like Volibear got all these like cool Sigil to Storm cards that let you ramp for something, but it has to be Titanic. What's the dumbest Titanic unit I could ramp to?
it's not She Wonders.
She Wonders is pretty good. However, I would like to inform you that Void Abomination is Titanic when you're evolved.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
So you could just like play a Void Abomination on like turn 6.
Okay, I can see, but how many keywords it has?
So the issue is you're playing Freljord Shurima.
Yeah.
So you don't have access to Scout. You don't have access to Elusive.
Weapon Masters.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Yeah, they work.
Get Scout Weapon.
Really?
Yeah.
Void A-Bomb lets you copy weapon keywords?
Yeah.
Weird.
But what are champions? There's that.
I mean, I assume
Like,
you play Kai'Sa. I also don't know if you like
No.
actually can play this in standard, but
I do generally think that you don't play Kai'Sa, even Kai'Sa decks, man. I think like if you got Kai'Sa from a Kai'Sa deck, it's getting better. I think.
I think that's a ridiculous take.
Nah, I don't think you can cut Kai'Sa.
Like
Kai'Sa's so bad. Have you played Kai'Sa? Like, oh my.
No, I have self-respect, so I don't do that.
Kai'Sa's so bad. Like she cannot attack. Like she's 5 mana 6/6 that dies when she attacks. Like I don't know.
Just copy.
Another thing that I wanted to talk about was there was a bounty put out on LOR Twitter. I'm sure you guys saw this, where Ruben tweeted out that if you beat Ruben and Vriss, I think, on ladder.
I didn't think that was beat both of them. I thought that was anyone who beat either of them would get a pack.
I think it was beat both of them. I think we could check the tweet. I'm pretty sure you have to find both of them and beat both of them.
Okay.
Which is pretty funny because Ruben's in plat. So I've been having trouble. Yeah, I would like to snipe Ruben. I'm having trouble sniping Ruben. That's kind of my issue.
I should have done it, man. I climbed in. I was coming in an a lot, like lately. Man, it's a bit there. I guess I was in plat. Maybe I should have just sniped him somehow.
I'm pretty sure you have to beat both because nobody's claimed it yet because you can't hit both of them because they're both in massively different queues at the moment. And I know that Tuxin put on there. Oh, I mean, I beat Vriss twice. Does that count? But yeah, no, it's certainly pretty funny. If you beat them both, then I think they'll send you like a pack of the cards, right?
Yeah.
Which I think is really cool.
If we start selling these packs, I would be like, I have money. I'm down to buy them. Like,
yeah,
I get that the expansion, like they can, I guess, like if you want to make mass production, it would be like thingy. But I think it's like one of the things that I think would maybe see something. I don't know. I would love them.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool. I think right now they're literally making them by hand, right? Like they're literally like
they do. They also shuffle them by hand even. So.
Yeah. But yeah, like Ruben right now hasn't played a game in 11 days. So All I'm saying is, if you find Ruben, that's the important thing. Is you have to find a Ruben. If you can beat Ruben, you could find Vriss on ladder.
Also, did he specify where you have to beat him? Like, is it in the game or like? Yeah.
Baya's gonna fly to California and jump this man.
Jesus.
I didn't say that. I'm just thinking, like.
Oh,
No one
Yeah.
would
Oh
beat
no,
Ruben.
I'm
at
gonna
the
get
fit
banned.
game.
I'm sorry, but I didn't mean that. I'm sorry.
Ruben has very good
Baya?
fits. So.
I think
Yeah.
my Runeterra is gonna disappear after this podcast. I don't know why, but.
That is like one of the more cool parts about being on the NA shard is like just randomly getting your ass handed to you by Ruben. So.
Yeah, we need Ruben to come in and build another Ruben pile, man. When was the last Ruben pile that we got that was like shaking the meta?
Shaking the meta? I think it was literally like a Victor Zoe way back when.
No, I think there was like
It's
some deck that we pulled, right?
Well, because like after Victor Zoe, it was Zed Sivir, right? That turned into Akshan Sivir, the Ionia stupid OTK.
I thought the Zoe Victor one was after that one. Because like Zoe Victor's been playable a couple of times, but we had to have like the Victor buff, right?
Wasn't he? See, because it was during like when Targon was OP, because like What Am I was playing it, and Targon got nerfed before Worlds, and at Worlds we were playing Sivir Akshan, right?
Yeah, but I thought the like Ruben pile Victor Zoe deck happened after that because the Victor buff needed to happen.
I think so.
I
think he was playing it the whole time, but I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean, wasn't Victor buff like really early in the year? Wasn't it like
Victor buff was a year after Aphelios release because Victor and Aphelios released at like the same-ish time. Victor came out with Zoe, and Victor was unbuffed for like a year.
Was that an urban part, by the way, Vi Zoe?
There was Vi Zoe as well, yeah.
So it was Vi Zoe 1 Victor, and he was running like Poro Cannon, and like some weird one-ups to like flip. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that it was like much earlier that we were playing that deck. Okay. But
the problem is like
we were playing at the same time as like Tribeam.
Yeah,
and like Tribeam got like gutted by the time.
The problem is like you have this like Zoe P and Z has been meta like so many times. So many times. And they've been like reasonably distinct decks. Like it's not just like, I don't know, scouts where like the same deck keeps showing up. Like, no, we've got like Zoe Aphelios like hard stall control. We've had Zoe Aphelios like Discord aggro with Winding Light. We've had Zoe Victor Cosmic Call.
Yeah, we've had the triple get excited subpercible Zoe Victor Vi. It's been
been a ride.
What I'm hearing is we need Zoe back. I mean, come on, we haven't had one in a while. I guess Cosmic Call, but other than that, yeah. Eternal's coming up, right? So we have World Championship qualifier this weekend. So we're gonna find the next 3 players that are qualifying for Worlds. Big excite. And then after that, we're going back to Eternal. The Eternal season where perhaps a lot of people aren't gonna necessarily engage with the Open because they don't have a shot at Worlds points or make it to Worlds Alpha points. But yeah, it should be pretty interesting.
What core will be needed, by the way, to make top cut? Like, it's actually gonna be like people not playing it because they just cannot do it.
I feel like people will
probably
still
play,
right?
But like
because
you can spike it and make money.
Prep. You can like you can just like no prep, but just go play, right? It's 1K tournament, right? It's like one of the bigger tournaments that we have. You're gonna steal some lineup from Lighter and you're gonna just play. I can see that being that play.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like
a lot of people
in 4 days. Well, 1, 2, like more like 5 days. We'll like pretty much know who's going to Worlds. I mean, there'll be like some people still scrapping for slots, but like it's gonna be pretty well locked in like 5 days. So.
It's probably very hyped like time now. Like it's gonna be a lot of Alwar, a lot of thinking, and then we're gonna have, of course, in the December we're gonna have the Worlds itself. So that's gonna be also very hype, and I'm looking forward for it. Hopefully, as a competitor.
I mean, hopefully. I think neither of you were like locked yet, right?
I'm outside of top 6.
Oh, Ikato, you're like not locked, but you're very likely to make it, right?
Not topping the last tournament has me a little bit suspect. I would very much, weirdly enough, like to do well in the World Championship qualifier. That is my hope.
Lurk has it if you want. Lurk has it.
I just want some points, man. That's all I want at the end of the day. Is I want some fucking points. Yeah. Where am I at on here?
Actually, I'm 6. Never mind. I'm sure 6.
I'm
Okay,
third.
Third. I mean, I understand the concern, but I think you're fine.
Okay, so the thing is, if I don't top, look at the people who can pass me. It's like Cup, Donut, Chekhov, Lazy Guga. Like these are not like people who can't pass me.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you still have like a 5-point buffer on the cutoff. Like I understand the concern. I still would be surprised. I would bet on you. So
yeah, but I'm fucked. I know. Think it is it.
How low are you by it? Wait, you're number 6 right now.
Well,
you're in
tied
there
for 6th. Yeah, BaJAtak needs to do well. BaJAtak
with some fucking nerds.
So.
Broken Ball and Karachi, bro. The grudge match. Okay. Here's what we need. Yeah. If we get Broken Ball, BaJAtak, and Simon and Karachi, I'd fuck it. The 4-way grudge match to find the last world spot. That would be hype.
And also, sorry, right? We did the wall to exile once, even though I'm not part of it. We need
the issue is that Sari's like light years ahead of you guys, so I don't know how that's happening.
It's 5 points. What you mean? That's fucking 5
you
points.
Shooters are all the way down there at like fucking 8th, and he's in first. So I don't know.
Man, I hope we're not gonna get unlucky again when this open. Hopefully, I'm gonna not meet man. Like last time, I was very tilted when I met like. I met Crash, I met Bokken, I met Sokar, like top 13. If we look at it, like I was very unlucky with matchmaking, and I lost all of them. So hopefully, I'm gonna get better, and hopefully, my decks will work. Smile. Sure, I'm not gonna get tilted while I'm gonna be playing scouts, right?
Surely not. I mean, if you don't want to play scouts, you don't have to play scouts.
But what else? Help!
Nardarius.
No.
What do you want to beat?
I think I want to beat I want to be like fun into Janna. I want to be good into things like Ashe and stuff. Like I want to just beat that shit
Does Nardarius beat Ashe?
No.
I should have no idea.
I don't even think it's like close. Like I think you get rolled. Oh, it's apparently
freezes are
fine.
Pretty good.
Where are there no stats? I'm sure the stats exist.
Wait, where's this?
I mean, this is like one of the most played decks of the format.
Yeah, there's like no way the stats don't exist.
Let me look.
I guess Laura put this kind of throw line here, but it has to be bad. Like you go all in and they freeze you. Like
Darius Nar. Oh, 55-45. That's not bad. Okay. That's not great. I'll be honest, that's not great. Yeah, maybe it is Scouts. Scouts is kind of nuts right now. Okay, here's the thing. I think a lot of Scouts stats are like pretty fake. I think they're a little bit fraudulent. Because if you look at like the stats on like Legna site, you would think that Scouts is the best deck in the game, and it's not close because it has 0 bad matchups.
Yeah, but that's something I was like, was it to Rioters? But I was suddenly like, if you go to Riot and like I don't know, go -3% on every Scout matchup, then you realize that you're losing to everything basically. So like that's my thingy. How real the stats on Scouts are.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really have to care because I can't play Scout. So, fuck you guys. I'm just not gonna play Scouts.
So you don't have to care. You still oh my god, man! Next season I need to qualify like first open, otherwise like man, like it's oh. Now
that's the thing is
first spot, man. There's like you just chilling now, like like we are sweating here and they're like.
He's had no skin in the game all year, man. He's just fucking chilling there, in his high palace where he's already qualified, and us peons are down here scrounging away. May I have a world point, sir? And
hey, I still played tournaments to try and take world's points away from competitors.
Which I appreciate, by the way.
I did my duty.
Please continue to take away world's points. That is very helpful. Just not against me. If we find each other, homie stalk me or something,
Wait, that's kind of illegal. Like, okay, so I'm gonna get banned. I get you also. Okay, I guess.
You're an EU player. You should be used to it, right?
Sure, yeah, I'm just used to it. That's fine.
Yeah.
I guess there's we need to find new people in podcast because we're gonna be banned from LR very soon.
Unlucky. You hate to see it.
I might get arrested, but that's maybe not. I can pay from prison, right? So that's fine.
Can you?
I mean, if you go to U.S. prison, we don't give people computer access. So,
I guess we can finish up with what's your today lineup. If we would have to play an open, I guess we can do that. And mine is Janna. It's Sarah Ionia, and it is Scouts probably.
I'd probably go Sarah Ionia based on y'all's recommendation. Definitely playing Janna. Probably Nyla. Probably like, I don't know. I tried some elephants. I tried some temples. I'd probably hybridize aggro and temple elephant list. And then I've got no goddamn clue about third deck. So
I think as long as you're playing elephant, you can't go wrong. Anyone who's still on boat is coping out of their mind.
I don't think that is anyone still on boat. I think anyone ever on boat was coping out of their goddamn mind.
I think boat was like fine. It was fine.
If you played boat and you didn't already have Nyla in play, you were not triggering boat.
It is, yeah, it was really hard to activate it. There were some, like, sometimes you like nut out and you fucking boat on 5 and then you triple card on 6 and it's the most amazing thing ever. But if your opponent has like any amount of interaction, like the boat's just not going off. And if the boat's going off, you're probably winning that game anyway.
Best thing on board was that it grows you usually leveled Nila, and Nila leveled is pretty busted, so it was like that was the best thing on board.
No.
Boat was bad.
Yeah, no, elephant goes crazy. Very, very happy with elephant. I feel lame now. I'm going third. You guys stole my lineup, so now I have to, feel bad about the fact that I'd probably run the same lineup that I ran this last weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Scouts like it feels a little mopey sometimes. I'm still trying to figure out the Seraphine Sett list exactly. Whether it's like 2 bar 1 temple, 2 temple 1 bar. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure stuff out. But in general, I'm pretty happy with my lineup. I think the meta's gonna change like day to day. So like my meta might be like just terrible by this weekend.
I do agree. Like it's still Tuesday. We saw so many times like just the change in like last days. Like especially I think like scouts are getting so much popular now on ladder as well that I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, meta went into like I don't know anti scouts or something like that. Wouldn't be definitely surprised about that.
So like, what's anti scouts? It's like Shen Jarvan.
Sananasus.
Yeah, is that the just pass the gate on them? Okay. I'm seeing it.
This is just showing that, that it was like Gala Volibear. I think bigger than Massa, Shenjarvan.
I do think this deck is a reasonable way to try and beat scouts.
Yeah.
Sett and Nasus not so much.
Heimerdinger. I've seen Teddy play that. I don't think the deck is bad.
The eclectic buff is like pretty good for this deck, especially since like eclectic with Heimerdinger in play no longer gives you the worst fucking turret.
It gives you the best one, actually. So.
Now, but like, get barrier? Yeah.
Barrier's OP. It completely shuts down your opponent's entire attack. So good.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've never been impressed by like any of these SI Bandle decks, whether it was Veigar, whether it was Nora, or Veigar or Heimerdinger with Nora. They're just like hate spike is broken deck.
Yeah.
And like they just hope to get there. And yeah, you can get there. It's fine.
I mean the eclectic collection buff does sound like kinda interesting, but I don't know. These decks always seemed a bit mopey, so
yeah, they sometimes just like struggle to win. I think that was my issue. Like you had you didn't do the collected, and like you were just sitting there and like looking at your opponent and like look at him, still keeps trying. And like then like you depended on like I don't know your Palooza hero and stuff. Like yeah, I wasn't ever a fan of this.
You play Portal Scholar, and then like Copium. Eventually, all your units will have impact and beat them down. Copium, surely.
I mean, that this version doesn't have Portal Scholar in it does concern me because I feel like Portal Scholar was incredible for this deck.
Yeah, Scholar's a crazy card, especially with Heimerdinger. Like, I mean, you should just absolutely be playing the card. Yeah. Yep. Anything else?
I guess that's it.
Well, good
Yeah,
shit. Thanks for
watching.
hanging out, guys. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe.
Smash that bell.
Exactly.
What
Smash
else
the
do they
bell.
say?
We are now on Apple Podcasts. We are on Spotify. We are on my YouTube, and we are at Google Podcasts as well. Yeah.
I enjoy
Thank you guys
it.
for watching.
Enjoy
And
the
see ya.
bias.